as humans, we're hardwired to resist change. And ironically, at the same time, we're hardwired to have change almost consistently in our lives. For years, you've been parents, and with each empty nest episode, kindergarten, middle school, high school, etc., you've been called to change how you parent, to change the role you play, to let go of your child gradually, then suddenly. Hi there. This is the Talk Love with Carol show. And my title for today is Has Empty Nest Revealed an Empty Relationship? So I wanted to point out something that people don't often say, and that's that empty nest can really be happen in multiple times in your relationship. And I'm broadening the idea of empty nest. So one time is when your child enters kindergarten. Now, how is that empty nest? Because we usually think of it as when somebody goes to college. But think about what that's like, dropping your child off at kindergarten for the first time, your first child or your last child, whatever. I remember dropping my daughter off, and I was so sad that I had to pull over, and my son was in the back seat in his car seat, like just looking at me like, what's going on? And I was crying because I realized that our little preschool family was over, and now I had to let go a bit, quite a bit actually, to launch my child into kindergarten. So that's one empty nest. I think another one is when your child goes to middle school, even if they're in the same school they were in kindergarten, because it's what's happening to the child. They're going through puberty, and we have to change our roles and the way we parent with our middle schoolers. Plus, they're very different. And that's another move in empty nest. Another one is when your child enters high school, or let's say when they get their driver's license. Those are around the same things. And wow, that's really different. We begin to know, if we hadn't let ourselves know it before then, we really have to let ourselves know that this parenting thing, as far as having them in the house, is soon, if I think to us as parents, 4 years, it seems soon, is soon to be expired. So that's another time when people really begin to think, okay, empty nest is coming. And of course, when your child leaves for college, and when they graduate from college, and when they get married, and when they have their first child. All of these things move them farther and farther away from us in a certain way. So I just wanted to say that, because empty nest is not just when your child moves out of the house, but it's all the things leading up to that. And then it's the beginning of transitioning into being parents of a grown-up, of a husband or wife, of a parent themselves. So anyway, what all of these things have in common is that they're a major transition. That's happening in your family and in your lives as parents. And transitions are often, if not usually, kind of rocky. And your feelings may be all over the place, from pride, relief, sadness, and so much more. As our children move forward in their lives, our roles as parents change. And we're often not happy about that role change, because we grieve the old role, right? But we have to deal with the reality of what's happening. So we're going to talk today about our marriage and how it's impacted by these. By the way, I'm Dr. Carol Henry. I'm the founder of what I was calling the Exceptional Couples Academy. I'm just going to call it now Dr. Carol J. Henry, because then it's much clearer and it's easier to remember. But I work with couples, committed couples, whose relationship is maybe struggling, or they just want it to be enhanced, be so much better. And I work with them in one-on-one, or really it's one-on-two since they're couples, and or in group coaching to work with those things. So today we're talking about relationships we're calling them empty nest, because it's truly an empty nest when your child leaves, and about how we look at our relationship. Like, is it stale? Once we have the empty nest, is it stale, or do we need to even fix something that's broken? And how to navigate these different transitions with more ease and connection with each other. Now, let's just look for a minute at why transitions are so hard. And it's because they require change. And as humans, we're hardwired to resist change. And ironically, at the same time, we're hardwired to have change almost consistently in our lives. So it's kind of confusing. And it can be very painful to go through those changes, especially ones that we're not that much a fan of, we don't really want. But we have to do it. Frequently, we have to deal with that. And empty nest is a huge change. For years, you've been parents, and with each empty nest episode, kindergarten, middle school, high school, etc., you've been called to change how you parent, to change the role you play, to let go of your child gradually, then suddenly, with high school graduation and true empty nest. So all those changes that we're required to make cause upheaval, a big word for it, disequilibrium. All the things that used to be are no longer, again. And it's painful at times. I remember driving my daughter, that same daughter that I left off in kindergarten, to college. And on the way home, I felt like the whole 300 miles, I could barely breathe. I knew she'd be back for Thanksgiving, but I knew in my heart that she really was out of the nest. And she should be out of the nest. But she was still gone, and I was grieving that. Everything would change suddenly. I knew that, and it did. Now, in empty nest, your relationship takes center stage. Not your parenting, but your relationship. So I saw an ad on TV, and it was, I forget what it was for, but anyway, it's our time. And as if we've been waiting eagerly for the kids to clear out, and now we're together, and oh, isn't this wonderful? And for some parents, that's actually the way it is. It's a time, it's freedom, which it is for all parents that have empty nest. Joy and fun. For many couples, though, it's time to pay attention to what the relationship has come to admit that we feel distant and disconnected, lonely, maybe, scared, lots of different things, frustrated, angry, disappointed. And disappointed in what the relationship has grown to. Of course, both people are responsible for that. It's not just disappointed in your husband or your wife. It's disappointed that, how did this happen? We've grown apart, and we wonder, can we fix it? Who are we now as a couple? And do I want to spend the next 30 years or more of my life living in the relationship as it is now? And often the answer is a resounding no. Now, that doesn't mean getting divorced, but it's now what? Now, what do we do? This isn't this isn't good enough. Like, we want better. So what do? Do we get divorced? Do we keep things like they are now and just live that sad, disconnected, resentful life? You know, like those people we maybe see in restaurants, or we used to before COVID, um, where they're sitting there, they're eating, they're not talking the whole time. And it's not just that peaceful, this food is so good time, not talking. It's, you can feel it. There's the energy of not being happy, let's just say. Or do you decide we want to repair, redesign, remodel our relationship and rebuild it into the relationship we've dreamed of? You might wonder if that's even possible, because for some people that just seems out of the realm of reality. Now, notice, I didn't say go back to how it was before we had kids, because think how old you were then. It was at least 18 years ago, if not more. And really, that's not necessary or probably even desirable. Instead, you have so much history with these last 18 or more years that the future is going to be built on that mature, experienced foundation of the people that you are now. And true, there'll be hurts to heal, because you've been sometimes hurting each other. All couples do that. There'll be patterns to disrupt. Some of the patterns that you've built are probably wonderful, and others are really not wonderful. So you need to disrupt those, to change them. Ways of thinking some of them need to be let go of. Habits, some habits need delete from your life. Roles to abandon and other roles to embrace. The role of parent with kids that are there, of course, is one of the obvious ones. And you'll figure out which other roles need to be altered. And your shared vision needs to be edited, because it's time, because it's a transition, and we need to update what we see as the rest of our lives. I want to really make it clear. The potential for an exceptional relationship is here, no matter where you start, if you want it, and if you go after it. You can go after it if you want it. It's time to write that new chapter of your story, of your life story, and of your relationship story. There's more time left than time you spent on raising the kids. There's more than 18, or people with multiple kids, 25 or whatever, years left. There's probably 3 decades. So think about how rich that is, how spacious that is, how you can work, how you have time to work on it now, so that you can live those years and make them fantastic, make them wonderful and happy, joyful, with a lot of freedom and with a lot of possibilities. There's so much potential. You've done so much changing, so much, let's say, pivoting with COVID recently, but throughout the lives of your children, in all the things we talked about, kindergarten, and sometimes there's illness, and the middle school and high school and all that. So you know that you can adjust, you can pivot, you can do what it takes to make this relationship better, because you've done all those things in the past in with the kids. So many couples need help and guidance and support and accountability to navigate all these changes. And that's where I come in. My knowledge and expertise I've helped more than 1,000 couples um, go from wherever they are at the beginning of when we work together, and to build that life, to do all the things I mentioned, change ways of thinking, change habits, change the way they communicate, the patterns, some of those things, and build the life that they really want. It requires on your side a commitment of time, energy, um, and that knowing that you have to change. Knowing, I mean, not change everything, just change the things that aren't working, that are leading to the outcome that you don't want. And that you can rebuild that your relationship so that it really does become that exceptional relationship that you want, the one that you've dreamed of and wished that you've had. Now there's stuff you can do to to work on it using my uh, process that I've worked, as I said, with over 1,000 couples on it to really help them change the relationship. So if you want it, if you want help um, to design and navigate this new chapter, schedule a call with me if you want to talk with me about it. I'll help you figure out what's best for you. We can schedule a call, and I'm going to put in the comments. I'm going to put how to schedule the call, and whether in that call, whether you decide that, or whether we decide together even that we should work together, or even if we decide no, that it isn't a fit, then you'll have more clarity and you'll have some direction in how to navigate this empty nest time and create that life that you want. So that's it for today. Think of where you are, even if you're, let's say you have a middle schooler, an older middle schooler, or a high school freshman, or certainly a high school senior. You're well knowing what's next. But think about, what does this say about my relationship when I let myself think about the relationship and make that center stage for some of my thinking time. What do we need? Are we ready to just celebrate and live that life that we really want? Or do you need some tweaking? Do you need to tweak some things? And if that's the case, tweak or flat out rebuild, redesign. So I'm here for you to help, to advise you about it and decide whether we should work together, decide together. And if not, just to sit with you for a while and talk about some things that give you clarity and get you in the right direction. So that's it for today. I hope you got some good ideas about how to think about this, and what's possible and what to do. Okay, so I hope you love well this week, and I hope you have a good week. Thank you for listening. Bye now.